The newly formed anti-piracy task force has made its first arrest. According to the Navy's 5th Fleet, the USS Vella Gulf apprehended 7 pirates in the Gulf of Aden Wednesday. The motor vessel Polaris called for help after the pirates attempted to board the cargo ship using a ladder. Polaris crew members removed the ladder before pirates could come aboard. The suspected pirates were brought on board Vella Gulf and then transferred to a temporary holding facility on board the supply ship USNS Lewis and Clark. In January, the U.S. Army concluded a 2.5-month investigation into the suicides of 4 soldiers assigned to the Houston Recruiting Battalion. As a result of those findings, Army Secretary Pete Geren directed an Army Recruiting Command stand-down day this Friday. Air Force Master Sergeant George Maurer has more from the Pentagon Bureau.
This will be the second command stand-down in recent months. The other occurred on December 15th while the Army was still investigating the suicides of 4 Army recruiters since 2005, 2 in September of 2008. The commanding general of the Army Recruiting Command, Major General Thomas Bostic, says all the military services go to great lengths to identify the right people for recruiting duty. He says he sees the Friday stand-down as another chance to talk about leadership, training, family wellness, and of course, suicide prevention.
We've been focused on those issues, but this is an opportunity to step back from recruiting and command-wide talk about this very important issue.
General Bostic went on to say the most important thing he provides to recruiters is time to spend with their families. Army recruiters now have Friday afternoons to do just that. The Army Recruiting Command has also started making cold phone calls to potential recruits. 4 million phone calls in recent months that recruiters didn't have to make for themselves. Another innovation under General Bostic's direction, adding a psychologist to each recruiting brigade. Reporting from the Pentagon, I'm Air Force Master Sergeant George Maurer.
Defense officials are calling efforts to extend dwell times for service members between deployments a key part of reducing stress on America's armed forces. Defense Secretary Robert Gates says the Pentagon is working with all the services to increase time at home for U.S. troops.
My hope is that we will begin to see a lengthening of the dwell times beyond a year, perhaps toward the latter part of this year. And I think it will incrementally lengthen over time. We won't go straight from 1 year deployed to 2 years at home. We'll more likely go from 1 year deployed to 15 months at home to 18 months at home and so on.
Secretary Gates said the drawdowns likely to come in Iraq will improve the situation over the next couple of years. Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Admiral Michael Mullen is calling Canada's continued military support in Afghanistan absolutely vital. But he says there is still work to be done to combat the corruption and weak governance that's plaguing the country. The chairman's comments came Tuesday following a full day of sessions with Canada's top military leaders. American Forces Press Service reporter Donna Miles is on the road with the chairman and has the details.
The chairman, as well as his Canadian counterpart, agreed that weak governance is the biggest and most pressing challenge in Afghanistan today, particularly in light of elections that take place this summer. He said that military might alone is not the answer, that he would like to see a so-called civilian surge that would help in areas such as governance that are critical need. That's our biggest shortfall, he said.
Canada is slated to have troops in Afghanistan until 2011. More than 24 members of the National Guard are providing authorities in Lone Grove, Oklahoma with law enforcement support after the town was hit by a devastating cluster of tornadoes Tuesday that killed 8 people. Emergency responders are searching debris for more victims. Officials say buildings were damaged or destroyed throughout the town, which is about 100 miles south of Oklahoma City. Much of the destruction appears to be centered in 2 mobile home parks. Coming up next, patients at one Army hospital in Texas could be at risk for blood-borne diseases. What you need to know ahead. But first, a small reserve unit in Europe got a visit from the top.